Right. Welcome to the Diet Monday podcast, Priya. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me.
We really appreciate it. We know you have a super busy schedule.
I know. I made it this time.
I know, incredible. So we really do appreciate you giving us the time. And I think before we dive into it, we want to know a little bit about your trip to Cape Town. You've just come back.
Yeah. I've been back for a week. It was incredible.
Why did you go down?
So I actually went down for a trail run in Addo. So it was a 50 miler.
Oh, wow.
Well, actually, I was meant to be doing the 50k, but I jumped onto the 50 miler.
Oh, wow.
Very last minute.
Okay,
That's quite enough.
casual.
But yeah, I went down there. My partner was out there. So we drove down the garden route, had a few stops along the way.
Amazing.
And then ended
Half
in
my
Addo.
family live in Plettenberg Bay.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Went there. Beautiful. Did some SUPing on the
Oh, wow.
on the river. Yeah.
Nice.
It was amazing. Went to Roeberg.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Didn't see a shark, but
Oh, that's probably a good
Yeah.
So that's a good thing.
yeah,
probably,
exactly.
And how was the race? Was it all good?
It was good. Oh, it was so hot. It was 35 degrees and loads of, like, the trails, super rocky. And I wasn't used to that terrain. And so when I was running, my ankle was constantly
Oh, wow.
turning. And I've never had an ankle injury, but I finished that race and my ankle was so sore, but I've recovered now. So.
Did you see much game on
Good.
the run?
So saw some warthog. They
Okay.
ran like
Oh.
30 metres in front of me. We were sectioned off from all the cool game. So
Yeah.
no lions, no elephants.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I think I saw a zebra in the distance,
Okay.
but I saw a snake. So I almost stepped on a snake.
Yikes.
Yeah. I think it was like yellow and grey. I think it was a boomslang. And apparently the anti-venom is really hard to come by for
yeah.
those. So
I think you're pretty much tickets if you get bit.
yeah.
That's part of that race, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess that kind of animal life is so foreign to you.
Yeah.
Like growing up in the UK.
Exactly, yeah. Like, I mean, I don't do well with insects, so even like bigger animals, worse.
Well, that's a good segue. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Because obviously our listeners, wouldn't know, but having you here is amazing. So tell us where you're from and a little bit of where you grew up.
So I'm from London, born here, went to school here, work here. Like, yeah, I've just been in London my whole life.
Wow.
But I mean, I love travelling, so I try to get out to as many places as I can. And I also love running, so I try to combine the two and do races in as many different countries as I possibly can. Yeah, I'm a doctor. I do that full time. And then 5 years ago, I was on a TV show, Love Island.
Yes.
Big TV show.
Saw that.
So as a result of that, I do a bit of social media stuff now. So yeah, it's been good life, I guess.
You go.
How did the Love Island thing come about?
So it was really random, actually. It was after COVID. I went on holiday with a few of my friends. We went to Dubai. It was the only country you could get to over COVID.
Yeah.
And my ex-boyfriend and I had just broken up. And so I thought, 5 days in Dubai, girls trip, let's go to all the beach clubs, as you do. Totally not my thing, but, went there, took some photos at the beach clubs, and the casting researchers for Love Island, I think they were looking at the location tag of Dubai, because anyone who was an influencer was in Dubai at that time. And I had like 200 followers on Instagram, definitely not an influencer.
Wow.
But someone contacted me, sent me a message. I thought it was spam at first. They said, have you ever thought about applying for Love Island? And just broken up with my ex-boyfriend, so I was like, you know what, why not?
Yeah.
Like, this is never going to happen. And then, like, I think it was 7 months of interviews. They were all virtual. Then they invited me to go into ITV Studios. And I was like, wow, okay, this feels real now.
This is happening.
Yeah, I've got to tell my medical school, like, sign a contract. And then they only let you know 3 days before you're going to fly. So it was a Friday night. The show had already started. They were maybe 4 weeks in. Even though I'd signed the contract to go onto the show, didn't think it was going to happen because I was in the UK and everyone else was in Mallorca. And then got the phone call and flew out with 3 days' notice. So,
Wild.
Yeah.
Were you a fan of the show before?
I'd watched it like once or twice. I feel like everyone, all of my friends,
Were interested, yeah.
at school, that would be the thing that we talk about. Oh, what happened on Love Island?
Yeah.
And so I guess I kept up with it sort of briefly.
Yeah.
But I'd never watched a season from the beginning to the end.
Yeah, I'll tell you why I asked, because we had a guest, Carla Gubb. She was on Survivor South Africa.
Okay.
And she was a super fan. Like,
Yeah.
watched 24 seasons in a row, like, couldn't stop, got on the show.
Mm-hmm.
But then once she was on the show and left, she never watched another episode.
Yeah.
She got this, like, I don't know, like the real scenes, or I don't know what it was. She couldn't
Yeah.
really explain it. But did you have that sort of feeling as well?
Yeah, so I haven't watched it since. I'm massively grateful for like the opportunity that I had on the show. Like, I think it's a brilliant opportunity, and I just think that when you're behind the scenes, it's really hard to watch something, you know, like
The way they've put it.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And so I don't think I could watch another episode just because I know what happens.
Yeah.
You know, as a contestant on the show. So I can see why people enjoy watching it. But yeah, can't do it.
That must have been quite a pivotal moment into, I guess, sort of as a platform going into the sort of influencer world and really like boosting your social media following and all that.
Yeah.
How did that impact like sort of life after Love Island?
Yeah, so it was kind of crazy because I finished filming the show at the end of August and I was still at medical school. So I'd taken essentially a few months off, and then it started again in September. So I'd been back in the UK for maybe about a week and then went straight back to medical school. And then I also had all like the social events and all the social media stuff that I had to do, as well as going back to medical school. So I think that September was just like the busiest moment of my life, like busiest month of my life, sorry. And I was wearing a mask at work, in the hospital, and so people didn't really recognise me. But then when I left the hospital, was on like the tube and things, people would see me, and like I went for a run in Regent's Park. I just remember going for my first run back, and there was like a group of girls, and they like spotted me and started running after me, and it was just like it was kind of the craziest thing ever. Yeah, it was mental, so mental, but. Yeah, amazing at the same time.
Yeah, that's crazy. Because now we get a good opportunity to watch your sort of mountaineering and your running and all through your socials, I guess.
Yeah.
So social media definitely has like a part to
Massive
play.
impact.
Yeah.
So where did that come in your journey? Because obviously you became a doctor. Where did the passion for the running and the mountaineering, was that pre-social media or after Love Island? Like, where did that come from?
So I think it came from way before I went onto the show. When I was at school, I enjoyed playing sport, did a bit of cross-country athletics, and then I was really stressed out about my exams in sixth form, and so I started running as a way to sort of release any stress, as a way to like boost my mental health, I guess. And then I only used to run like 10k sort of distance. And then COVID happened and we all got taken off our medical school placements, and so I went back home, hadn't lived at home in a while, and found that running was a great escape, and I basically just tried to increase the distance as far as I could, and so I ran my first half marathon during that period, my first marathon and my first ultra, I guess.
So it just kept coming.
So it was like, I don't know, a good like 4 or 5 months of me just like running lots and lots. I didn't know much about it. I didn't know much about the recovery or the fueling, so I take out like 3 gels for a marathon and like would absolutely bonk on the way back. But yeah, I guess I learnt the hard way.
Because you can see you've got energy, like, and you like adventure, you know, especially through your socials and all those mountaineering. So that just came from a young age, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess it happened over COVID, and then from there, I guess started to travel. There's this company called Much Better Adventures, and I booked a holiday through them for me and my dad to go on. My dad also likes hiking, and that was his birthday present that year. And we went to Norway for 4 days. We were in a tent and did a lot of kayaking and hiking, and I just realised I loved like that kind of adventure.
Yeah.
And yeah, so from there, I guess I think I've done like 6 or 7 trips with that company, and then like to all different places in the
Do you know
world.
the company? Okay.
Yeah.
We should do that.
Yeah, really, no, would really recommend. I don't work with them, but like, would recommend.
Not a plug.
Yeah. Like climbed a mountain in Morocco called Toubkal with them and my dad. And then, yeah, just, I guess I caught the bug. And since then, just been, I guess, running, climbing mountains, I guess. Done Mont Blanc. Did Aconcagua in January.
Saw that.
So just like increasing the difficulty, I guess.
And what's the end goal there? Are you wanting to do 7 summits? Is it just kind of casual?
I don't know. I mean, at the minute it's too early to even think about the 7 summits. Like I guess I've done Kilimanjaro and Aconcagua, but I mean, I'd want a lot more training. I want to improve my skill and not just be one of those, like, you know, commercial Everest summiters.
100%.
Yeah. Like, I want to do a few more mountains in the Alps. I guess a few more mountains in Nepal. I'm actually going out there in 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
I'm climbing Mera Peak, which is like quite a small hiking mountain. When I say small, it's 6,400, but I guess when you've done, pretty big. When you compare it to Aconcagua, it feels a bit smaller. Yeah. But yeah, it's not technically difficult. So I guess I want to build some skills in that department. Yeah, and we'll take it from there. But, you know, never know.
100%.
Yeah.
We've actually so I've done Kilimanjaro. Our other host back in Cape Town has also done Kili. And I think he's done Aconcagua.
No, it was
Elbrus.
the Russian one. Yeah, that one.
Elbrus,
And he was meant to go do Denali now, but I think he's a bit ill.
That's true. He wants to do the 7 summits.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's the
amazing.
goal.
It's
Amazing.
such a cool, it's such a cool thing to do. But Aconcagua is serious.
Cool.
I mean, was that the hardest that you've done so far?
That's the hardest. I guess it was just the period of time that you're like in a tent for the altitude.
Do you struggle with altitude sickness at all?
So my first ever time at altitude, I went to Everest Base Camp, and it was awful. Like, I had the worst stomach problems. I was vomiting. Like, it was awful. But then since then, no more altitude sickness. So I guess I've always been so before I did Aconcagua, I was sleeping in an altitude tent, and so I guess that prepared me. And yeah, since then I've been to altitude, after Everest Base Camp, and not felt it.
Because I also read that in 2022 you were diagnosed with some sort of bronchitis. I don't want to say the full word.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know. You can pronounce it for me. But
so it's called bronchiectasis.
That's it.
So it's bronchiectasis.
No, because I wanted to ask, because you know, you do all these, you know, mountaineering journeys in such altitude. Does that not have an effect with the running or any of that?
Yeah, so bronchiectasis, I guess it's this chronic lung condition that I picked up as a result of having pneumonia when I was younger. And I find that exercise really helps with that. So it's essentially the build-up. It's not a very sexy thing to talk about, but it's a build-up of mucus. And so when I run and do cardiovascular exercise, it helps clear out the chest. And I was a bit worried going to altitude the first time I was there that, you know, I wouldn't be able to breathe and I'd really feel it. But that hasn't happened. And so I guess it hasn't really affected my life at the minute, or my life of running and mountaineering. I feel like that actually helps. I find that when I don't exercise, that's when I get this cough and feel unwell.
So for asthma, is that?
So asthma's slightly different because, I guess it's a different condition altogether. Yeah. But for bronchiectasis, you're also given inhalers to treat that. But I didn't really find the inhalers very useful.
Okay.
And I just find exercise is the best way to treat it.
So even with people that have asthma, they should exercising is a good positive thing.
So with all conditions, exercise is the way forward. I mean, if you've got asthma and, you know, it's pollen season and that makes your asthma worse, then take it easy. Always take your inhaler out with you. Don't go, like, I don't know, for a 100-meter sprint if you're feeling like you can't breathe, because that won't make things better. But I guess small amounts of low intensity exercise is, you can never, no doctor will ever tell you not to do that.
100%.
Movement is medicine.
Yeah. Yes,
I had the
exactly.
CrossFit nurse on. That was her
yes.
little
Yeah.
CrossFit.
I like that.
Absolutely.
That's a good segue into going back to, I guess, the start of your like doctorhood and becoming a specialist. And you mentioned, I think it's palliative medcare, which I find super interesting because I guess for the most part doctors really focus on quality of life, and in many ways palliative medcare focuses on the quality of your departure from life, which I think is a super honourable thing to do. Walk us through that and just explain to the guests who might not know what palliative medcare is, exactly what it is you do.
So I just came off a 4-month placement on palliative medicine. I guess it's medicine for patients who are coming to the end of their lives. And a lot of people think, you know, like, what kind of medicine is that? You're just giving them pain relief. But it's so much more complex than that. There are so many different symptoms that patients experience at that stage of life that it's a horrible thing to disregard, and you need specialist doctors that understand those symptoms. So pain, for example, if a patient is in pain or appears in pain, then it could be due to a huge range of different things. It could be due to something physical, like a wound, an injury, a tumour in them. It could be psychological pain. A lot of patients that I saw in palliative care, they were screaming and it wasn't because, you know, they didn't have enough morphine. It was because that they were experiencing something psychological, because at the end of life, like, coming to terms with that as a patient is so tough. You know, none of us will be able to understand that. And so I guess it encompasses all of those different things. And it also, I mean, it's not just the patients that the palliative team support. They support their families. You know, a lot of patients were quite young, and that was upsetting. They had kids. They needed support. You know, it's
how do you deal with all that grief and?
It's really tough. It's really, really tough. I guess talking about it is the best way to deal with it. Yeah, they're things that stick with you. Like when I was on palliative medicine, I saw a lady. She had breast cancer, and she was coming to the end of her life. But her family, they didn't accept it. They thought that she wasn't responding because she had like a little chest infection. They didn't understand that, you know, she was coming to the end of her life. Her breathing was changing, which is normal at that period of time. And she had 2 kids, both at school. And that morning, you know, the whole team, all the doctors, nurses, they told the family, they said, look, this patient is dying. And the kids went to school that morning. They weren't with their mother at the time, and then she unfortunately passed away, and the kids had to be pulled out of school and then come to see her. But obviously it was too late by that point. And so, you know, you hear like the cries of the kids there, and I know that sounds like a horrible story. It's bringing down.
No. It's nice to see
know,
the inside of.
Yeah, you do experience those things, and I mean, talking about those things isn't, you know, they're not. It's not nice to hear those conversations, but I guess it takes some of the like burden off the people who see those kind of things. So just by me sharing that with you, I guess makes me feel a bit better, and I guess makes people understand like what happens.
I mean, it's such an important conversation to have because it is just the inevitability of life. Has
Yeah.
that experience for you kind of augmented your zest for life in terms of going out there and wanting to explore the world? Absolutely.
Life is short. Make the most of it. Like, I see people in the hospital, in hospices, you know, they come in with things that they don't expect to have, and you can never predict what's going to happen tomorrow. And so you've got to make the most of now. And so I've been really lucky that I've been able to travel and see things that not, you know, that many people have seen. And I encourage anyone who has the opportunity to do those things to make the time to do them. I guess a lot of people, you know, a lot of doctors that work full time, you know, work as their whole life, which is, you know, it's admirable. But I'd also encourage people to take the time, like take a step away from that, and like just look around and see other things, and do like really follow any passions that you have. Don't wait until like when you've retired, you know, because by that point it might be.
I'm getting so many flashbacks of chatting to Liv, because she was saying such similar stuff. She was in the ICU. She sees a lot of death, and she says you got to live, and movement is medicine. So it's interesting to hear your take. And I even said to her, I want to walk through one of these wards, one of these, so you can get a feel. You know, we don't see death or these sad moments or grief often. So I feel that if it hits us now, it'll hit us a lot harder than if you get a good understanding of it, or if you get not used to it, but at least have it a part of your life.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I definitely think that working in that sort of environment changes your perspective. I know that during COVID time, you know, when we saw the news and like you heard all the figures of people that were in hospital and like people unwell, and like I was sat at home like totally well and didn't really understand like what it was all about. Like, and then it got so bad that all the medical students that were older, they were recruited into hospital. So I was working as a healthcare assistant in ITU, and when I went into hospital, I was like looking around, seeing like all the
Scenes.
Entire department packed, and like so many people there, and me, like I was shocked, like me not expecting any of it. And like as someone who was studying medicine, had been in hospital before, like I thought I'd understand it, but it was only that moment that, you know, that sort of opened my eyes as to how bad the situation was. So I guess that's similar to you know, working in hospital and like seeing those things day to day.
Are you still focused on palliative medcare, or have you moved on from that?
No, I've moved on. So that was a placement. I'm in my second year of work as a doctor, and it's really great because you get to move around different specialities that you pick. And so I'm now moving on to A&E. Emergency medicine, sorry.
Okay.
And how do you find the time, because to do all the mountaineering, the running, the traveling, and then to be a doctor, how do you manage that?
It's really difficult because I'm working full time, and so I have to swap around quite a few shifts with my colleagues, but then it means that some months are like I'm working like 60-hour weeks.
Crazy,
and like it's super intense, loads of like back-to-back 12-hour shifts and stuff. But I guess I don't mind that because I know that like I'm able to do like a mountaineering trip.
You like put in the time to get the result, the reward almost.
Exactly. I guess it's not the most sustainable thing. So in the future, I'd like to reduce my hours, so I'm able to do more of the mountaineering. But yeah.
Is that kind of the goal, to be full-time adventuring around the world?
No, I don't think I could do that.
It's the dream.
It would be, yeah. But actually, I think I'd feel, I don't know, I do love my job. It makes me feel really satisfied, and I just love communicating with patients, people you would never usually bump into and speak to. You get to be part of their like health journey, I guess, and it's amazing the stuff that they share with you and the trust they put into you. I would never want to give that up, but it'd be nice to, you know, just reduce the hours and have a bit more time to pursue my passions too, you know.
Yeah. Okay, so let's dive into the fun stuff. So you've got the London Marathon coming up.
So actually, sorry, I'm going to Nepal during the London Marathon, so I'm not actually running London. So I'm doing Sydney and Chicago this year. So I do have a place though, so but I'll be in Nepal.
Are you selling that place?
Well, I don't think you can, unfortunately, because I have it was a championship entry because I ran it last year. So sorry.
No, that's
Sorry,
fine. I was going to say, do you have a particular time that you set for these marathons, or?
I really want to do a sub 3 hour.
Okay.
I haven't yet reached that goal.
Yeah.
I think I've been a couple minutes off it. In London last year, I think it was 3:07. But I know that I can get that.
It's amazing how short it is in time, but how long it is if you look at like a race. When you do like a running race, 2 minutes is a lot longer than 2 minutes.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? It's like hit your target. It's tough.
Yeah, it becomes exponentially harder to get those gains.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I could do a sub 4 hour.
No, you definitely could.
You could.
I've never run a marathon, but we're doing a full Ironman this year, so that includes a marathon.
Nice. Yeah. Which one are you doing?
In Italy, in Emilia Romagna.
Oh, that's a quick one. That's
is
really
it?
quick.
Yeah, it's flat.
The cycle course
4
is really
laps
quick, I've heard.
cycle and then 2 laps run.
Nice.
So you know your Ironmans as well?
Yeah. My ex-boyfriend used to do Ironman.
Okay.
He did a half in Emilia-Romagna.
Okay.
So
It's on the same weekend.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
We have some friends coming up doing it as well.
Yeah, I think it was really rainy, maybe 2 years ago.
Oh, that's scary.
Yeah, on a cycle.
The bike becomes scary because it's in September, so it's kind of like in that weird
Shoulder
seasonal
season.
change.
Yeah.
And it's on the coast, which is nice.
Yeah.
Is that something you've ever wanted to get into?
Oh yeah, that's on my bucket list.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Come to Italy.
Yeah. maybe. I just need to. I'm okay at the cycling. I don't do that much of it, but done a bit of cycling. I can do the running, but it's the swimming. I can swim, I can scuba dive, but I can't swim quickly. I swim for leisure.
Yeah, a lot of people are scared of the swim. It is quite short, but it's still like a monster if you're not a swimmer.
Yeah. I mean, 3.8 kilometres, that sounds really long.
And there was an Ironman now in South Africa in PE.
Yes.
And it was choppy. And so a lot of people spent like an extra 10 to 20 to 30 minutes in the water because the currents were strong and it was super choppy.
Wow.
It's a long time to be unplanned in the water for.
Are there sharks in the PE swim?
Not so much in PE. Yeah.
I mean,
they're
there.
Be. You never
They're
know.
there.
Yeah. That would freak me out.
We did the half Ironman in Mossel Bay where there definitely are sharks.
Wow. Do they have drones watching over? Or
No,
I
Okay,
don't think
no.
so. But there'll be people on
Okay.
You just run the risk. It's fine. We all look like seals because we're all in wetsuits as well. So it is quite dangerous. But we actually had a friend of ours, Tracy, shout out, who just did the Ironman in PE. And her swim took her 2 hours. So if you had to imagine taking 2 hours and then...
God.
But she killed it because she came out of that and then did the cycle and the run. So yeah, it's tough.
God, that's a long day out.
Especially if you're not a swimmer.
And talk to us about training, because now you've become quite serious. Is it, I mean, obviously you're not just having 3 gels now per marathon. I assume you've got like some sort of regimented training program.
Do you have a coach?
I don't. I use Runner training app, like a lot of people.
Apparently that's so cool. It's so good.
Oh, it's really great.
Yeah.
It's like the runs that they give on that training program are like perfect because lots of people can do them, but they also cater to you and your like target specifically. And if you've got any questions, you can like send a message in, you get a response, and it's really, really good. I'd like to get a sort of personal one-to-one coach.
Yeah.
I think that would be really helpful. But I feel like I'm so like scattered in the events that I do. So I do like mountaineering, do a few runs, but I think for the Sydney Marathon, I'd like to get a coach for that, so that I can get that sub 3 hour time.
When is that in the year?
That's in July.
Is Sydney quite a flat race?
I think it's pretty flat.
What have you thought about Valencia? Because I know that's the fastest.
Yeah, so I did Valencia in December last year. Okay. That was super quick. Super quick.
How did you go?
Training hadn't gone to plan, but I think I did like a 3:10, 3:11. Okay, so I guess I'm still a distance away from that sub 3.
But a coach does help. I have a coach for the Ironman, and I just like that your schedule's set out. But like you say, it is very specific to the race. So it kind of makes sense that if you're darting around or doing different things, it would be a struggle. But it's a lot. I mean, for us, I'm trying to get a sub 11. I'm training like 8 days a week.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of training.
Yeah.
God, it's a lot, especially for an Ironman, because you're doing all the different disciplines. And I guess when I do reduce my hours at work, I'll have more time to train and be really focused on that. At the minute, I find that exercise for me is an escape from work.
Yeah.
Like it's something that I rely on just to have a break. And so if I don't fancy doing intervals that evening, I'll just go for a gentle run, which always happens, actually. I don't remember the last time I did intervals.
Intervals are the worst.
I hate them.
They're so hectic.
I love them.
But okay, so you're kind of mixing it up. You're doing some halves, some fulls, some ultras, some ultras in really interesting places. We saw you did that one in, was it Iceland or?
So it was in Greenland.
Greenland, okay.
Yeah, that was the Polar Circle Marathon, I guess. So it was the marathon day 1, half marathon day 2.
Okay.
And that was really cool.
Yeah.
It was on the Arctic ice sheet. So we were wearing micro spikes so that we could grip onto the ice. And it was freezing cold. I think it was like minus 20 degrees.
Jeez,
and especially on the second day for the half, like, I remember starting running and just thinking, God, I feel so cold. Like, my face, I hadn't got my nose covered because I had a buff, but when you cover your nose and your mouth, you just can't breathe when you're running. And so I had my nose exposed, and then I was taking a video, and I didn't realise until after the race finished, look back at the video, and you can see frost nip on my nose. And I know that if it had been that temperature, because thankfully the sun came out and so it warmed up a bit, but if it had been that temperature throughout the entire race, I would have definitely had like a frostbitten nose. And it was really sore afterwards. It was like, it was red and sore. So yeah.
-20. What are you running in then?
Yeah.
So you start off, because I don't know, when I run I get really warm quite quickly. So I had maybe 3 layers on.
Okay.
No big jackets, but just thin jackets. It was quite windy, so windproof layer on top. And then as you go, you take off the layers. But if you stop running, you just get really cold really quickly. So I guess you just have to carry on.
And the spikes must be quite weird. Like quite a hit on the calves and the shins and that if you're not used to it.
Yeah. I didn't actually think about what it would be like running in spikes, but they were super helpful on the sheet. But then there was a bit on the road afterwards, and I kept them on because I didn't want to stop running and take them off. And then I see another runner like whiz past me. They haven't got their spikes on. I thought, hang on a minute, let me try taking mine off. So I stopped, took them off. And then I was like, God, my legs feel so much lighter and springier. Sure. Like my shoes were actually working as they should be working, And
because there'll be no give with the spikes.
Exactly, no give at all. And my legs were super sore after that. Maybe it was the spikes.
That's exciting, all that adventuring. It's getting me going. We've got to travel. I mean, we're just running around London. I know we come from South Africa, but
I want to do more of like the ultras in the mountains and
that's my first thing that springs to mind is like, how do I fit this into like normal work? Because I work 9 to 5, normal business hours. Only have 25 leave days a year. So like, how do you fit it in? That's like my biggest
it's
issue.
A lot of like planning, and also I guess I do all these like events and things by myself, and so it's just me who I have to think about. So like Kilimanjaro, for example, I booked 2 weeks before because I didn't know if I was going to get the shift swaps, and it was all very last minute, and I knew it was just me going, and I could just like hop onto a group that was out there already, and so I found a group that was going. They had a free spot, and I just like jumped onto their
Did you find Kilimanjaro quite easy then?
It was okay. Yeah. I guess that summit day is difficult.
Tough,
but I can't remember. I'd been somewhere just before Kilimanjaro, maybe like the month before. I think I'd been to Peru, and that's at altitude. And so I guess I still had the training from that. Which took me to Kili. I found summit day okay, actually. Yeah. And
what's sort of the scariest moment while doing this mountaineering? Have you had that was close to falling off the edge type moment?
Yeah, I guess the one that lots of people talk about is in Mont Blanc, the couloir. So it's the bit where between the two rock faces, there's like a bit of snow where if you cross it too late on in the day, there's a risk of avalanche. And so that's where, everyone who dies on Mont Blanc pretty much dies because of the avalanches.
It's quite nice to know that though.
Like this is it.
This is it. This is the scary bit.
If you cross, then you're fine. Yeah.
Exactly.
Do you have to come back down it as well?
No.
Okay.
No, it's just a one.
So it's a one-hit thing. Yeah.
Exactly. And so I remember seeing it and thinking, okay, we're getting closer and closer. Right, this is it. We get there, and the guide is like, right, you guys ready to cross? And we're like, yeah. And he's like, slow and steady. And like, no one's going slow and steady. We're just like, right, let's just get across this. We're in crampons, but like the worst thing you can do is like, go too quickly in crampons, because if you get them caught, you just end up falling. And so, we got through it pretty quickly, but I was holding my breath the entire time.
Because I'm scared of heights, so I don't think.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It would be for me.
Oh, God.
I'm also like a bit anxious at the best of times.
In Cape Town, actually. My boyfriend and I went to Table Mountain, and we did some climbing up there.
Cool.
I hadn't done climbing with like gear and ropes.
Was that the
and
recent
stuff.
photos on Instagram?
Yeah,
Okay, that was in Cape Town. I didn't even know.
That was Table Mountain.
Where, like below the cable car?
Rock climbing.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
so
quite
It was
got the
like
cable
right
car.
on the. It was like straight down.
Very
Yeah,
cool.
so got a cable car up and then like climbed a bit further down.
I used to live right there.
Yeah, and then we put like used ropes, belays, put gear in the
cool.
rock, and 3 of us, me, my boyfriend, and the climbing instructor. Did some climbing and
epic.
it was amazing, but it was super steep. Like
It was, no, but
the
I was
drops are
like,
crazy.
I get like
Yeah.
shivers when I see other people on like edges and stuff.
Did you do any other runs, like on Table Mountain or any trails?
Yeah,
in there?
we ran. I think it was the pipe route, like just
Pipe track,
Yeah,
yeah.
the pipe track. Did that. Also, always take a headlamp when you're doing runs at night or like in the late in the day, because the pipe track took ages. I thought it was just going to be. My boyfriend was like, "Oh, it's a 13K." Like.
Is your boyfriend
route.
from South Africa?
No, he's not. But
Okay,
he'd just
okay.
been in Cape Town for like 2 weeks before, and
Okay,
he does a lot of running, and so like thought he knew the routes. But he said it'd just be like a 13K
Yeah.
trail run. So I thought, okay, this won't take longer than like 2 hours, But there was a lot of uphill and like a lot of like climbing and scrambling.
It's very technical and rocky as well.
Really, super technical. And it got to sunset and we had just like got to the top and then we hadn't got headlamps.
Oh, no.
And so we were descending in the dark and it was an absolute
It's
nightmare.
quite dodgy as well, right?
Yeah, quite dodgy.
It can be a bit dodgy.
Because I've heard of quite a lot of people getting robbed on Lion's Head, though,
Oh,
mainly.
yeah.
I think.
Yeah, I think it's been okay recently. But generally, what was your experience in Cape Town? Because it was your first time, right?
It was my first time,
Yeah.
yeah. It was such a beautiful city.
Yeah.
Like everything is so cheap. Like all.
If you're coming from here,
I
yeah.
know, it's kind of crazy. It's
Yeah.
honestly like you could have
Literally,
like the
yeah.
nicest meal.
Yeah.
The food is amazing. in
Yeah,
Cape
for
Town.
like £5.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. And I love how there are so many mountains around. There's a sea. Everyone's outside all the time, which I love.
Yeah.
We don't have enough of that here.
Yeah.
The weather's obviously beautiful in the summer. The only thing I just felt like, I don't know, for me, I didn't feel safe all the time. I think obviously there's quite a lot of like inequality and stuff going
Do you
on.
feel safe here? Safer?
Yeah, because I guess I live in central London, and I could go for a run at any time of the day. You know, if it's pitch black, I'd just wear a headlight and I would feel safe. But I guess I live in like right in the middle of London,
yeah.
so there are always people around anyway. But I guess anywhere in the world, there are parts which aren't always the safest.
Yeah.
But I didn't feel as safe as I do here. So
No,
that was
yeah,
the
it's
only
completely
thing.
understandable,
Yeah.
for
It's
sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's one of the most unequal places in the world, and there's a lot of poverty and crime. But on
Yeah.
the contrary, it's one of the most beautiful places.
It's
Oh,
like
it's so beautiful. Yeah,
it's so tough to.
Yeah.
to
yeah,
find.
it's like with all the best things in life, you always have that give,
Yeah.
don't you?
100%,
You
yeah.
know.
I mean, after my first 8 months here, I went home and I got into an Uber and I got reminded very quickly. This Uber almost drove us off the road because he thought he saw a roadblock. And then he started to tell us how he's unlicensed. And so, like, I was just like, okay. We back. But yeah, I actually wanted to segue into quite a risky topic. I say risky because I'm probably not that knowledgeable in it, but I can ask and then maybe we do or don't. But the Gary Economics and the Simon Squibb, have you seen a lot of that stuff online?
Gary Economics. Yeah, I saw a video.
Yeah, it's basically
recently.
about like the economics of London and the United Kingdom and how like people are leading into poverty and the rich are becoming wealthier. And then Simon, he's sick and tired of people being told to become entrepreneurial to make money, where the working class can't even afford to put like the heating on, and he's tired of that message being sent through. And then you've got Simon Squibb, who's like, you know, he's got 3 million followers, this huge influencer, and he's all about entrepreneurship and pressing that message. So like there's this huge feud going on between the two. I just
Yeah.
wanted to get like your opinion on the United Kingdom in general, in that like the working class struggling as much as they are.
I think it's really unfair that, you know, a lot of people, they will work their entire lives, like as a doctor, for example, we don't get paid very much as a junior doctor. Your starting salary is 25 grand. And that's for 2 years.
Wow.
It goes up slightly in your second year, but less than 30, right? And that's, imagine you spent 6 years at medical school,
Yeah.
you're getting paid 30K, and then, you're spending all your time at work, you could be working for maybe 5-6 years as a doctor, your salary doesn't go up that much, and you can't afford to like buy a house. And it's crazy because my dad, for example, I guess he came to the UK with absolutely nothing. He had a spot at Liverpool University to study pharmacy, and he was able to work for years, for 10 years or whatever, and buy a house, less than that maybe.
Yeah.
And the fact that he could do that back then, why can't I do that now?
Yeah, that's the message.
It's really difficult.
But do you think, is that unique to the UK or is that global? Because I look at it like in Cape Town, similar situation. They've got basically a housing crisis now. So there's been a huge influx in foreigners coming in and buying up short-term rentals. So it's got the highest density of Airbnbs of any city in the world because it's highly unregulated. So for us, now sort of 10 years into our career, I mean, part of the reason why we're here is to earn more and go back with that additional purchasing power and try to get onto the property ladder, etc.
Yeah.
But for a lot of locals there, it's the same thing.
Yeah,
as here.
I guess it
It's
is
just
happening globally. I'm just
Yeah,
privy to the UK because I'm
for
here.
sure.
Yeah.
But Gary's saying, we need to tax the rich. But then the rich are saying, well, we'll just leave.
Yeah.
And it's just
It's-
like
And they are
constant
leaving.
battle. They
Yeah,
are
they
leaving.
are leaving,
Yeah.
exactly, they
biggest
are
departure
leaving.
of
Millionaires.
millionaires.
Yeah.
I was going to say millennials.
No, but it is, like,
Well,
statistically.
millennials leaving too, to be fair.
And
Like,
the big reason why is because they've started to look through trusts. So offshore
Yeah.
trusts now are just getting taxed.
Yeah.
It's just worldwide income. So you can't have a trust in Gibraltar or Malta anymore and
Yeah.
like hide your assets. So the only way out is to change your domicile and leave the UK for 5 to 10 years and basically become a Malta resident or, get a passport somewhere else. And that's why they're all leaving, because otherwise the UK is just going to tax all their wealth.
yeah.
But which is what we need to help the working class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just like, yeah.
I just don't think there's a win in that situation, and I couldn't offer any solutions.
Yeah,
I guess, yeah.
it's tough. But the entrepreneurial side, because you're an entrepreneur, for example, it's a lot harder to get into than it's portrayed. Is that
Yeah, I agree. I think that what you said, Simon Squibb,
yeah.
who's preaching that everyone should become an
Yeah,
entrepreneur.
yeah.
Yeah,
He's the
I
guy
think
that
there's-
goes up to you and says, do you have a dream?
Yes,
Have you seen
yeah.
that?
I mean,
Yeah.
I like the message, but I agree on the contrary. There's like some sort of minimum ceiling that is required from like a purchasing power or financial stability to enter that.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's like fringe cases where someone went from like rags to riches, but you can't anchor, you
Yeah.
can't make that the aggregate assumption.
I do like his message, though, because he's basically telling everyone in the working class or in the office to like break away because they're kind of slavering you and they're paying you a minimum wage to work for them. And why can't you do it yourself? Like, that's the type of message he's trying to get out there. Pulling people out of the 9 to 5 that's working for like a huge company that doesn't care about you, etc., etc.
Yeah, it's really difficult, and I guess it's becoming quite tempting with a lot of people. Like, if you're not treated the best at work,
Yeah.
then why not just, if you've got the option to pick up and leave, why not do it? And I see that in my field, like in the NHS, don't get treated the best, not the best working conditions. And a lot of doctors, they are leaving, and they're leaving the UK, going to Australia, for example, because you can convert your degree directly to there. But a lot of them, they're not just doing that, they are just leaving the profession totally. And it's really sad because the NHS is now getting lots of doctors from abroad in, but the NHS pays for in the final 2 years of medical school, the NHS pays for us to study. And so they're losing a lot of money that way. And it's just, it's really hard. There is no one easy solution.
But why would doctors leave the profession? Would they not just privatize? And
So you can't really, so the training pathway
okay,
means that you have to train in the public system.
I see.
So I cannot become a specialist in, say if I wanted to do sports and exercise medicine, I couldn't become that sort of specialist unless I train within the NHS. And so I could only become, so I've done 2 years, so I'm a foundation doctor, F2 doctorate, is like my title. But I can't, if I wanted to become a specialist, I basically just need to be within the NHS, and so I can't train privately. I can only work privately when I'm at the top of my field, which is a consultant. And if you want to become a consultant in surgery, for example, it takes 7 years from where I am right now.
Wow.
So you're working in the NHS for 7 years.
Yeah.
And so it's like by the time you're 40, that's when you can go, privately. And by that point, it's like, really?
No.
Like,
Do you know what you want to specialise in yet?
I'm not so sure.
Okay.
I really want to work with athletes and people who are super into sport. And so I'm thinking sports and exercise medicine, or I quite like surgery, but I just don't think that if I continue travelling and, doing stuff outside of work, I'm going to be able to have the time to train as a surgeon, just because it's quite demanding with the hours. So I think I'm going to make that decision next year.
Yeah.
And yeah, I have no idea.
The sports thing would be
happen.
cool. I mean, it's very much a blend of your passion and purpose.
Exactly. Yeah, and I'd really like to work outside the hospital, so with like a sports team in the mountains. It's like an emergency doctor. That would be pretty cool.
Now we're talking.
Yeah,
there we go.
Yeah, combining all the passions.
Emergency doctor.
What sports teams would be up in the mountains? Like
I know
ultra marathon.
Yeah, some ski teams maybe. I don't know. No, I'm kidding. I don't know.
That'd be sick, though.
Just say like mountaineering expeditions.
Yeah.
A lot of them have a doctor. Any big expedition will have.
So what are your next
Yeah.
expeditions? I think we did touch on it earlier, but you got 3 this year.
So I'm going to Mera Peak in a few weeks. Then planning on doing Rainier in June time, I think.
Okay.
And the Matterhorn in August. So the Matterhorn's like the big one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We should actually link you with Remy Cluas.
Yes.
Oh, cool.
She was on the podcast. She's a huge mountaineer.
Amazing.
She's doing it
done the
almost every
7
week.
The 7 summits.
Yeah.
Oh, she's on the 7 Summits.
I think
so,
yeah.
Amazing.
She lives
That's
out
very
there.
cool.
That's
Her profession, right? She's
Yeah.
an alpinist and a
That'd
motivational
be actually a
speaker.
great
Yeah.
person
Wow.
to link you with.
Yeah,
We'll
that'd
do
be
that.
really cool.
We had her on the podcast. She talked about the death zone. Was that on Mount Everest?
Yeah, it's just anything above 7,000 meters.
8,000,
8,000 feet.
8,000
Yeah.
meters, yeah.
Meters, yeah.
That's scary.
Zone, yeah.
Very scary.
But yeah, she'll be a great person to connect with. She's out there and she loves it.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I've read quite a few books by mountaineers, climbing Everest, K2, the big mountaineering disasters that have happened over the years. And, these guys, they're so passionate about mountaineering. They survive these big disasters. But then, because they're such passionate mountaineers, they, attempt other mountains. And it's so difficult because it's like, where is the end? And the end, unfortunately, with a lot of cases, is the mountaineer dies because they've attempted something that is just so dangerous.
They shouldn't have, yeah.
And it's like, I just think about, like, I love mountaineering now and I'm getting into it. But how far is this passion going to take me? What is that point where I'm like, no, this is too dangerous. Or will I just be so passionate that I want to do it,
And that boundary, you'll probably just keep pushing it out the more you get into it.
Exactly.
Do you get nervous or fearful before hitting, or do you not really have that?
No. I guess all the things that I've attempted, especially when it comes to mountaineering, I've trusted my ability.
Yeah.
And so I don't feel nervous. I get quite excited, especially on summit day. And there are some bits that are really windy or you're quite exposed. You're like, oh, it's a bit dodgy, but you get through it.
Yeah.
And
you've definitely got that element where you've removed the fear somehow. Because I could just be fearful the whole time. Because I'll just be nervous about everything. I mean, obviously I'm scared of heights, so that wouldn't work. But even when I'm training and doing these big races, anxiety creeps into the back of my mind when I'm pushing my body too much. Maybe I feel like I'm going to faint, or even the small things. But it's a tough pressure to allow the body to go past those limits.
it is. It's really difficult, and I guess it just comes with experience and putting yourself in those uncomfortable situations more and more. I find that helps. I don't know, 5 years ago, I would never have thought that I'd have climbed Aconcagua.
Yeah.
Well, firstly, I hadn't even heard of the mountain. And now when I look back at it, thinking about 18 days in a tent and melting snow for water, and
so cool.
the toilet situation was just the worst thing ever. But yeah, getting through that, I would have never thought I'd been able to. But I guess it's the slow gradual build up of like
Yeah.
doing more and more trips like it.
I think you'd be fine. It's kind of like the more you do it, the easier it'll become. Although that being
Yeah.
said, I find the more I run, the harder running becomes.
Yeah.
Because you're like pushing yourself
Yeah.
further.
Yeah.
You set new
minimal
goals, I
gains.
guess.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I do kind of get it, because in a small way, the podcast, I was too scared to do it by myself. And I always had to have one of them, because we've got 5 hosts. We started with 3 in Cape Town, and then Greg joined me up here. But then as soon as I did my first one, I was like, oh, that wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
And then I've done a few, and now it's like fine. And now I want to do one just by myself. So
Yeah.
it's like you go through these, and now it's like, you know, it's not even a issue.
Second nature.
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know?
second
Yeah.
nature.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So like it's weird how you go up the ladders and all the and everything in life. So
Yeah, exactly. It's everything. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, running 10K to me used to be so scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now, like, a little 10K, it's like, oh, I can do that in the
Chill.
morning. Like,
Yeah.
super chill, you know?
Well, that almost leads into our message, because Diet House Monday is obviously like a moment where people make decisions or make change like that to go after things in life. And one of the things we normally ask our guests, and we put them on the spot, is what is their sort of key message for our community to help them go after that moment or that 10K, or keep pushing it in life and
Yeah.
sort of keep moving forward.
I guess my message is, if you want to do something, do it now. And, you know, don't just think about doing something and put it off until when you retire. You know, when I retire, I'm going to have this great life because I won't have any responsibilities. You know, I can do whatever I want. Do it now, because you never know what tomorrow holds. And so I guess, yeah, that's...
You kind of
that's what I
alluded
say.
to it earlier when we were talking about the palliative medcare stuff, and that like you'll probably never be healthier than you are today,
Yeah.
and more able than you are today.
Mm-hmm.
So just do what you can to get out there and do it today,
Yeah.
or as soon as possible, really.
Exactly.
That message
Yeah.
actually stems through so many of our guests when we ask that question. It's like the same bottom line every
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
I remember Liv and the last guy I just spoke to
Yeah.
said the same thing, do it now.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, because then when you do take that step and you're like, okay, I've got like 3 days off work. I'm gonna go away, like for the weekend, climb a mountain, and then come back to work on like a few days later. And you know, at first that just sounds really risky. You're like,
Yeah,
oh, can
yeah.
I do it? Can I not? And then you do it, and then you're like, oh my gosh, wow, I've
I
done
managed,
it. That's
yeah,
fine.
yeah.
And then like 2 months later, I have a week off work, and I'm like, oh yeah, I can go to South America in a week, like go climb a mountain, come back to work. Yeah, I can do that. And then you do it more and more, and it's like, yeah, why not?
Get used to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's amazing how many people are out there that sort of aren't doing it now. And
Yeah.
that's sort of why
Yeah.
we think we're doing something right. Even being youngsters and like having the podcast, we're really just trying to find those one or two
Yeah.
people even that are, you know, just lost in the big scheme of things
Yeah.
and not really doing anything with their life and
Yeah.
just trying to like shake the bush, you know?
Yeah, it's difficult, because I guess like I'm really grateful because I've been able to travel. Like not everyone has the resources or opportunity to do so, but I guess it's just like getting yourself out of your comfort zone, doing something that you wouldn't normally do, and just trying it out. And you know, if it doesn't work, like not everything I've done has worked. You know, I've sometimes bitten off too much like than I can chew, you know, and that's okay too, but you live and you learn. And so next time, like I'll make adjustments. Like when I did an ultra in Sri Lanka, for example, and I didn't really think about the heat. I knew it was going to be hot, but I just didn't think about, like I didn't prepare for it. And when you're really hot, your body is craving salt, and I didn't take enough salt tablets, didn't take any salty food with me, and I was just like, I had electrolytes, but I just didn't have enough salt. And so I was on like day 3 of the ultra, and I just totally bonked. I was so hot, my body was craving salt, like what I would have paid for a pack of salt and vinegar crisps. honestly, like it was mental. But I learnt from that, and like doing this ultra in Addo a few weeks ago, I went to the supermarket the day before and bought loads of salty stuff, and like the entire sort of second half of that race, I was just like chowing down on like salty peanuts and
What's
stuff.
your go-to snack during an ultra?
Flapjacks.
Okay.
Flapjacks. I know they're not salty,
like
but
actual like pancake flapjacks.
Yeah,
like oat bar.
Okay,
Yeah, like
oh no, the oat
like
bar.
the oaty flapjacks.
Oh, okay, I
Pancake-
know exactly the trick.
kind of like Trek, but like like denser.
Okay.
With like loads of maple syrup.
like a waffle.
No, but not like an actual
No.
one on a pan. Like this is a.
I
a
feel like
snack.
this is like a South African English.
Yeah, definitely.
Like we call flapjacks different things.
Well, this is potatoes. But I'm glad you brought up ultramarathon towards the end here because we want to do that. Well, I definitely want to do more, but it scares me because, like I said, I've never run a marathon.
Yeah.
What would be like your biggest advice to step into that sort of ultramarathon 3-day running, like from a mental perspective,
Yeah.
from a physical perspective?
So I'd say don't be afraid to walk. That is totally normal. A lot of people are like, how am I going to run 80 kilometers? Like, you don't run the whole thing. If it's steep, like if it's
Walk,
uphill,
yeah.
you walk and treat it as an adventure.
Yeah.
You're exploring a new place. Like I don't know, you've got this. I don't feel like a runner when I'm doing ultras. I just feel like an adventurer. Like I look around, I'm like looking at all these like cool trees.
It feeds your mountaineering
like,
side of you.
Exactly. And like you have like 1,000 billion thoughts that go through your head and you're actually able to think. Whereas I feel like when you're doing a short race, you know, like a 10K or like even a marathon, you're just
think.
like totally focused on time, getting to the finish. Whereas with an ultra, you just slow down, enjoy the experience, don't be afraid to walk. Like you're sometimes like running through rivers, like you can't run through a river. You have to like tiptoe over the rocks, and that's fine too. You know, just enjoy the experience and like learn from it. And a lot of people say it's mental, but it's also an eating game. Like you need to fuel. Like you have to constantly eat.
Yeah,
and, like,
the
fuel your body. But it's crossing that finish line after an ultra, and you just think about what you did like 13 hours, like how you were at the start line like 13 hours ago.
Yeah.
It's just the best feeling. It's like
You underestimate how
Kinda
much you
crazy.
need to eat.
Yeah.
Like every 45 minutes, you need to be chowing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm learning about that just with the training because I have to eat 4,500
Yeah.
calories a day, and it's
Yeah.
hard. Of good
Yeah.
stuff as well.
I was
You
going
can't
to say
just,
it's
like-
easy if it's
Yeah,
not
it's
good
easy if
stuff.
it's like
Yeah.
just trying. But you should do the Cape Town one. What's the Cape Town one?
UTCT. That's Ultra Trail in Cape Town around
Oh.
Table Mountain.
100
amazing.
miler, huh?
Or,
Wow.
yeah, there's a few ones.
There's a 50 and a 100, I think.
Yeah. But if you do go back to South Africa, you should do the UTD, which is the Ultra Trail Drakensberg.
Okay.
Drakensberg is a mountain range north of South Africa.
Yeah.
Unbelievably beautiful.
Wow.
Like really big mountains.
We'll do it with you.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've done it.
All right,
I'll do
okay.
it again.
You've done it, yeah.
Yeah.
You started hallucinating at some point.
No, not me.
No.
Yeah. Maybe noodles.
Cool. Well, we've run over time, so thank you so much for joining us. That was a cool conversation.
Yeah, thank you for having
thank you so
me.
much for coming down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we really enjoyed that, and I think I'll put you in touch with Remy, and we can
that'd be
chat
really
after
cool,
the
yeah.
post the thing.